Hey CityLight, happy Tuesday to you guys. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like to be hated. But that's what we're going to talk about right now. In our passage, when we hop down to verse 18, this is what Jesus starts to warn about. In verse 18, it says, "If the world hates you, know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own, but because you're not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours. But all these things they will do to you on account of my name, because they do not know him who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not have been guilty of sin, but now they have no excuse for their sins. Whoever hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done among them the works that no one else did, they would not be guilty of their sin. But now they have seen and hated both me and the Father. The word, but the word that is written in their law must be fulfilled. They hated me without cause." Now, this section, when you just say it by itself, it doesn't sound very Jesus-like, especially when you're missing the love stuff right before it. But when we pop it in, we start to understand more of what he's saying. Again, just to recap some of what we talked about on Sunday, Jesus is giving his last speech to his disciples, and he's preparing them for him to go away, right? So he's telling them that, hey, you saw all these times where I was given a rough time and I had a hard time. Well, guess what? Get ready. It's coming for you too. You're going to have to deal with these things too, and you're going to have to deal with people not liking you. Well, I don't know about you, but that just, it drives me up the wall. If I think somebody has a problem with me or doesn't like me, it messes my whole day up. And I have a real hard time thinking clearly and straight, and I want to try and find a way to make that right naturally. That's not always possible because sometimes people hate you for something you can't change. Like in this case that Jesus is warning about, there are going to be people that hate Christians because of Jesus. So what Jesus is wanting to do here primarily is to warn the disciples that you're going to be hated and you're going to be persecuted, and it's not going to be all, gumdrops and lollipops. It's not going to be easy the whole time to be a disciple of mine. It's not going to be easy to bear witness about me, as we'll talk about a little more tomorrow. But so let's think about what Jesus says here. Why is this the case? Well, because he's spoken to these people and he's revealed himself to them, right? And he says it's because they hate my Father also and they don't actually know him. It's interesting to think about this in the context because Jesus is his ministry was carried out in Judea and Galilee to Jews, people that said they knew the Father, but Jesus is saying a lot of these people, especially some of the religious elite in these circumstances, man, they're just not with it. They don't actually know God, and they don't live the way that He would have them to live. Now let's couch this in the context of this whole speech. Remember back in chapter 14 when Thomas says, Jesus, just show us the Father. Like, I get it, you're going away. Show us the whole thing. And Jesus says, Thomas, what are you doing, man? Where have you been? Look, whoever has seen me has seen the Father also. So what Jesus is saying here when he's saying that they're guilty and they're without excuse, he's saying, you have received the highest level of revelation I could have given to you. You have seen the Son of God who proceeds from the Father, and he is the most direct revelation of God that he could possibly give you. So there's no excuse for not understanding God's message when you've received it from Jesus himself. Now, thankfully, I don't think we're in that kind of circumstance where we, maybe I shouldn't say thankfully, I'd love to hear Jesus speak, but we don't receive that same level of revelation today, I think would be fair to say. But Jesus goes through all of that and ends quoting Psalm 69, saying they hated me without a cause. And this psalm is quoted all over the New Testament. Super neat. So what do we get from this? First of all, I want to just say real quick, there is real persecution happening to Christians in the world right now. I also want to say that in America, sometimes us Protestants have something of a persecution complex where we'll go and... I've heard people do things like this where they heard someone next to them say, "Oh my God," and they got up and said, "How dare you take the Lord's name in vain," and stormed out of the restaurant, and they couldn't believe that somebody was yelling at them as they left or something like that. That's not being persecuted. That's being annoying. And you're kind of getting what you deserve for that. By the way, saying, "Oh my God," it's not taking the Lord's name in vain anyways, but that's a conversation for another time. But all that to say, how do we play this out in our lives? There is going to be real persecution, but I think we need to, in our context, since we tend to cry wolf with persecution, we want to be careful not to do that, and to only cry wolf when there's a real wolf around, if that makes sense. In addition, I think we need to understand that, yes, this is a real thing, and it is happening to Christians in China and the Middle East on a much more regular and a much more dire basis. So I think that does two things for us. It means we should pray for those brothers, but we should also consider this warning of hatred in the context of the last bit we were talking about. And I think this is how we're going to be able to see it played out more in our day-to-day lives. In that last commandment that we're to love one another, in light of this warning that we are going to be hated, I want to think, how can I be like Jesus and love my enemies? How can I love those who hate me? And I think that would be a great question for us to reflect on tonight. How can we love those who hate us? When someone says something mean to us, or someone is rude at work, whatever that might be, maybe someone got snippy with you at the grocery store. Maybe it was really, you made a comment about your faith and somebody degraded you for that. How in those situations can we show love to one another? Let's talk that over with someone around us. Talk it over with them and see what you guys come up with. I'd love to hear. Feel free to shoot me a text. Hey, enjoy your Tuesday night. We'll see you back tomorrow night.